Welcome to your monthly horoscopes for your sign. I want to give a big thanks to all the people who are supporting the Patreon. This is honestly sponsored and funded by you. I'm so grateful and appreciative. And I recommend watching and listening for your rising sign first. That will be the most accurate. Horoscope means observing of the hour. So you want to make sure that you have the most accurate read and then your sun sign next. Now, this is an overall arching horoscope for your rising sign. Remember to take into consideration your personal planets, your time lord, the different timing techniques that there are in astrology. So leave what does not resonate and take what does resonate. I'm also teaching an astrology one-on-one course class this fall, slated to be September 1st, 2025. There is a form down below just to get an idea of where everyone's at. It's only 5 questions if you're interested in learning how to read your own chart, because I'm all about teaching you how to fish. So anyway, thank you again so much, and let's go to your sign. Hello, Aquarius rising. Welcome to your August forecast. Your chart ruler is retrograde in the sign of Aries in your third house, co-present with Neptune. Now, there is definitely something that you are trying to co-create, something different of your imagination, of something that maybe you've never done before, something innovative. Maybe you're coming out and speaking truth to something for the first time. Maybe you started a podcast or a YouTube channel, or you started becoming more active on social media. Um, Whatever it is, it's something that maybe you're reflecting back on now since it's retrograde, and you're refining something. You're making sure that whatever you're putting out there is something that will stand the test of time. What I love for you this month is that you have a full moon in your sign in your first house. So there is some level of completion. There is something happening with your physical body or your perception of yourself, as Pluto is in your first house. So if you have an early degree Aquarius rising, let's say from 0 to like 6 degrees, Pluto is on your ascendant. And so you're transforming in a big way. And I think your voice is definitely going to be heard. I think it needs to be heard. And I think you're creating something that is innovative, is breaking through people. Um, when I say breaking through people, I think whatever you do have to say will get to people, will help people awaken. And you, obviously, as an Aquarius rising, are ushering in this age of revolution, this age of innovation, this age of awakening to our future. No big deal. But um so let's start from August 6th, when Mars ingresses into the sign of Libra. Another really beneficial thing for all the rising signs that are air signs, you're going to have a grand air trine. This is very lovely. So Mars will enter your ninth house, and it will trine you by whole sign, and also Uranus and Gemini in your fifth house. So again, a grand air trine in your Dharma houses. So the Dharma houses in Vedic astrology are the first, fifth, and ninth. So again, I think there's something about you really coming into your role in the revolution and collective liberation, whatever that might mean for you. Revolution for me just means change. And you're realizing what a huge pivotal role that you have in this moment. So of course, Mars is in its detriment in the sign of Libra. The ruler of your third house of Aries is in the ninth house. So you might be taking these ideas of at the local level, in your neighborhood level. Maybe you started like a little baby like podcast or YouTube channel, and now you're like, okay, I want to bring this out more in a bigger way, maybe in a global way. Maybe I'm going to write a book. Maybe I'm going to start speaking out, going on a book tour, going on a podcast tour, whatever it is. Like, I think you're really trying to get your micro ideas out into a big way, as Mars rules your 10th house of Scorpio, and it also rules your third house, like I mentioned. Now, there's something to consider because on August 8th, Mars in Libra will oppose that Saturn in Aries. And yes, this is a challenging aspect. This is probably the most challenging aspect of the month. However, for you, Aquarius rising and the other air signs, I would say besides Libra, Saturn in Aries is your chart ruler, and it's sextile to you. It's in a sextile, harmonious aspect to you. It's a 60-degree angle. And Mars, like I mentioned, is in a trine to you. So I think out of all the signs, I think you're going to maybe not like get away with this because it's still an opposition at the end of the day between two malefics. However, that Saturn is speaking to that Mars. It's answering to that Mars. So there's some reception there. And like I mentioned, if you have your Aquarius rising in the early degrees, Mars is trining you. And also, Saturn is in a sextile to you. I think that you can use this opposition to your favor if you choose to. This could be like, let's say, for example, you do have a platform and you say something that's, a little spicy. You might get a backlash for it. People might come after you and challenge your ideas, or they might say, like, we don't agree with you. Now, the reason why I say oftentimes, like, during Mercury retrogrades, I never say, like, watch what you say. And with like oppositions, I do believe there's a time and place for conflict. I think Mars in Libra, you can use conflict as a way to bring up injustice, as a way to hold people accountable, as a way to use conflict as a way to grow your relationship. So I don't think all conflict is bad, but yeah, I think just to be aware that on this day, August 8th, you might come up with some opposition to somebody. This could be like, because you're Saturn, this could be like a teacher figure, a priest, or somebody like ninth housey. I'm thinking like a church person or a guru, a teacher. I would also be careful of traveling this day because the third and the ninth houses are traveling houses. So if you have like a flight or a car ride, I would just be careful of accidents. I mean, if you have a flight, you can't really control that, but I would just be very careful on this day when it comes to your traveling. On August 9th, you have your full moon in the sign of Aquarius at 16 degrees. This happens at 3:55 a.m. Eastern time. Now, remember back to January 29th, there was a new moon here at 9 degrees of Aquarius, but your chart ruler, Saturn, was still in Pisces in your second house. So there was a new moon here. You might have had an intention to increase your finances or get more serious about your finances, as Saturn tends to do that. And then now with Saturn in your third house, you might have, had an idea to how to increase your finances with a project or something like that, a second stream of income, if you will. And so this is a fruition of that moment. This is when maybe because the sun is still in your seventh house of partnership, maybe you've come to this decision that you need to walk away from a partnership, a business deal, a contract, or maybe you realize, like, hey, I want to recommit to this thing with somebody. So after this full moon perfects, there will be a 22-hour, 55-minute void of course moon. And I've been sharing on the weekly astrology forecasts that void of course moons are not times to start anything new. They're not necessarily times to launch something, but to kind of relax and rest, meet with old friends. Um, so, my suggestion to you on this day is to kind of like relax, do nothing, do some self care since the moon is transiting your first house, stay at home, read a book. Um, yeah, really take care of your health as the moon also rules your sixth house. On August 11th, Mercury goes direct at 4 degrees of Leo. And like I mentioned, Leo is your seventh house of one on one partnerships. So Mercury rules your fifth house of joy, pleasure, romance, sexy time, and also your Virgo house of the eighth house. Um, yeah, you might have decided to recommit to somebody, or exes could have, like, you're one of the signs that when they say during Mercury retrogrades, old flings, lovers, situationships might come back, you're one of those signs that this would have uh what is that? This would have been this would have applied to you because Leo is your seventh house of partners. And Mercury rules your fifth house of romance and situationships and sexy time. So, did exes, lovers, situationships come back from the past during your Mercury retrograde? Now, think back to, and I'm going to kind of like fast forward to August 25th when Venus enters your seventh house of Leo. Think back to July and August and even September of 2023. You had a Venus retrograde here, and that would have given you clues as to what your Venus in Leo transit will be like this time. Venus is the planet of love, union, relationships, worth, value. Um, and Venus rules your fourth house of home. It also rules your Libra ninth house. So some Aquarius risings might have even moved to a foreign land or moved homes in some way as a result of a relationship. Think back to your Mars retrograde story that happened in late December of last year to early this year. And now this Mercury retrograde. So there is some activity going on in your seventh house of the other, of your one-on-one relationships, partnerships, friendships, and business partners. So Mercury going direct here, I think you're making decisions. You are communicating through your heart, authenticity, and you're maybe making a decision on the situation that you might have been in, or maybe you're deciding, like, I'm gonna make this official and propose to my person that I'm committing to. So on August 12th, we have the most auspicious, lucky transit of August, maybe even of 2025, which is the Saturn, Jupiter in Cancer, conjunct Venus in Cancer at 14 degrees, and it will conjunct the fixed star Sirius, which is a very benefic, auspicious star. So the sixth house for you is your Cancer house. Now, the sixth house is a place where you can overwork. This is a place where you need to focus on working smarter, not harder. These are the daily rituals you do to make your life worth living. Again, you don't want to overwork here since it is ruled by the moon. But you want to make sure that you are taking care of your health, you are taking care of the day-to-day things that support you. So having Venus and Jupiter and conjunction here and Sirius, this could be like great news in your work environment. You know, the sixth house is your work environment. Maybe they're renovating it. Maybe they're making it better. Maybe they're upgrading your office. Maybe you have good news in your health. Maybe you were sick for a long time and you have the bill of clean health and you're recovering. This could also be a really lucky time for your finances as Jupiter rules your Pisces house, the second house, and also your 11th house of Sagittarius. You might be getting a boost in your followers, or your friends might be offering you great opportunities. And in turn, you get this boost in your income and finances. And like I mentioned, Venus rules your fourth house of home and your ninth house of study, travel to foreign lands. And also, this is the house of God, right? So, this is really auspicious, is what I'm trying to say. The sixth house is in a hidden house from you. It's what we call in astrology the inconjunct aspect. It's in a 150-degree angle, but all the same, the sixth house is still an important house, and it's a house that you cannot ignore. This is where, when you do the ritual, my astrology teacher, Sam Reynolds, says, when you do the ritual, you let God do all the work. Again, you can do some magic here to help you and petition you to essentially like help you to get your dreams and your visions and your goals to fruition. On August 22nd, the sun will ingress into the sign of Virgo. Now, Virgo is your other hidden house, the eighth house, which is also in conjunct to you. So, because you're an air rising sign, August is going to be really amazing, like I said, with the grand air trine. But when planets go into earth and water, they're in and in conjunct to you. So you have to kind of grapple with some of the hidden things that you might not be privy to. So the eighth house of Virgo is your shared income with a partner, it's shared resources, it is inheritance through death, it is the house of the occult. So when the sun comes here, it is putting a spotlight on all of those topics. The very next day, there's a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo that happens at 2:06 a.m. Eastern time. This is not an eclipse, but the south node is here. Fast forward to the future, September 21st, there is a solar eclipse, which is a new moon at 29 degrees of Virgo. Now we have a new moon here at the beginning of in the beginning of Virgo season, yes, at 0 degrees, and that's an inception point. That's a beginning, right? And then we have a solar eclipse in September at 29 degrees, which is the ending. It's the anaretic degree. So, two new moons, you're planting seeds here in the eighth house. So, this could be like, for example, after the Mercury retrograde came here, you decided to part ways with your spouse, and now you're going through a divorce, and you're planting seeds here of getting a really big divorce settlement, for example, because Virgo is your eighth house of shared income. This could be you setting intentions for receiving money in different ways, multiple streams of income. This is the first decan of Virgo, which is the Eight of Pentacles. And this is about commitment and craftsmanship. So, whatever it is that you're trying to co create, wherever you're building, this could be that seeding moment. Now, what I find interesting is that embedded in this new moon chart, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the outer planets, are all at 1 degree, which, according to Nicola Stojanovich's degree theory, this is the Aries degree. This is more like modern astrology. This is ruled by Mars. So these placements are about expressing your personal goals and moving them forward. And so Uranus, like I said, is in a trine to you. It's in the fifth house of Gemini. Neptune is a sextile to you. It's in Aries in the third. And Pluto is in your first house. So you have a vision. you have a personal goal, and this is about moving your vision forward with um, getting enough resources and getting the funds that you need to make this happen. And lastly, I already mentioned this, but on August 25th, Venus will come into your Leo seventh house. This is really sexy. I tend to think that Aquarius people are stoic, a little cold, detached emotionally. And this is no tea or shade because I have my moon and Venus in Aquarius, but just more intellectually minded, sapiosexuals, if you will. And so it's interesting that your sister sign, Leo, is a fire sign. And when Venus comes here, it's like, maybe there's times to flirt. Maybe this is like a really cute time to put yourself out there. And um yeah, if you're in a long-term partnership too, like reignite that fire, reignite the romance. Because obviously Uranus is in your fifth house too. So this is also about disrupting the ways in which you relate to your pleasure and your joy. So, Aquarius risings, I hope you have a beautiful August, and I will see you next month.